did guard duty, and then a couple of days later, we went up to Contin. And Contin, that was pretty devastating,
How many people did you lose?
We lost 4 men in one attack. What it was 1-9 was up near the river, what they call a marketplace. And there's actually a book about it called Hill of Angels. And that's what Contin translates to, Hill of Angels. And I can't remember the guy's name. William, somebody wrote a book about it. But anyway, we fired support for that operation that night. It started in the afternoon, and what had happened, 1-9 was up there, and they got surrounded, and I guess there were a lot of killed, Marines killed from 1-9. And anyway, the following night, K Company of another regiment, 2-3, I want to say, went up there to recover all the bodies and everything. There were tanks that were destroyed also. So what they did was we fired all our HE to keep the enemy. They got surrounded again, trying to recover the bodies. And I don't know what.
Your
whether
unit got.
I was 3 miles back. Our range was like 3 miles, 3.5 miles we could fire. So we had 6 guns, and two of the guns would fire 1 mission. So we had 3 missions going, and we kept firing our rounds until we only had like a couple hundred rounds left. So we started out, we had like 1,800 rounds of ammunition, of HE, what you call it, a high explosive. So they kept the enemy away. And I'm guessing they finally did get the helicopters in enough to get those guys out. And the next day, I guess after the enemy had left by then, we went in the next morning. I'm going to say it was like Monday morning or something like that. They brought the tanks back, and they had bodies on the tanks, and it was pretty devastating for the Marines out in the front that were fighting.
How was it for you personally?
Oh, well, I was still there another month, and I was pretty well shocked about it.
Yeah, it shook you up. It sounds like.
And about 3 weeks later, we had another mortar attack. It was. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kyle Liston, and today is May the 2nd of 2024, and we're in the afternoon. I'd like to introduce Steve Samoheyl.
Yes.
He is a U.S. Marine on active duty from which years?
66, 10 January 66 to 10 January 68.
Thank you. And we're very excited here to have you at the Rocky Mountain Region VA here in Aurora, Colorado.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good to be here.
And thank you for your service, and welcome home. I want to tell you that first.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'd like to begin by asking you a little bit about your early history. Can you tell me where you were born?
Houston, Texas, 28 June 1946.
Okay.
And I went to Resurrection Catholic School. It was Northeast Houston and Denver Harbor.
Okay. Were you in Catholic school the whole time you were growing up?
I went to the 8th grade, and then I went to McReynolds Junior High for a year, and they opened a new high school out toward Jacinto City, which was to the east, and went there for 3 years. Graduated in 1965, and then I started getting the notifications for the draft, and failed because of my eyesight. I had eyesight problems, so they prescribed some glasses, and then I was inducted in the service in Houston, downtown Houston. They had the recruiters there, and tried to join the Marine Corps before that, but some reason it didn't work out. And then later on, they needed 6 volunteers in the Army when I was inducted, and I ended up going to San Diego. They asked me whether I was afraid of earthquakes. I said no, because I've never experienced any. But then I got to MCRD, and it's quite a shock, from going from civilian life into boot camp.
I'm sure.
Uh,
So I'd like to ask a couple more questions.
Okay.
Do you have any siblings? Any brothers and
yes,
sisters?
I had 2 other brothers and 2 sisters, and most those have all passed away. I'm the remaining brother still around, and also have one younger sister, Maggie, that's still with us.
Are you close to your brother and sister?
I've been trying to get a hold of Maggie, but I think she's got health issues going on, so I haven't been able to get a hold of her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I still have some yeah, I have some nieces, but my older brother had two ladies, and they're both in Florida now,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the children that they're having is going to be a wedding in Florida for one of my grandnieces. So.
Great.
Yeah.
I bet you're excited for that.
Yeah.
So you were raised Catholic?
Yes.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm not practicing Catholic today.
Okay. Are you a recovering Catholic?
No, not that
Okay,
either.
I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot.
Were you close to your parents?
Yes, I was.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about your younger years? Do you feel like you were raised by a good, strong family?
Oh, yes, definitely. No question.
And you had some good friends when you were younger?
Well, that's questionable, man.
Okay.
Yeah, one guy that I had worked with, he was working on an offshore rig, and one of his brothers, and they had a rough time. So he was killed in offshore. After I got back home, I found out Ronnie Martin was his name, and he was killed in an offshore accident.
Was he in the military or no? He was a civilian.
Yes.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. So what got you interested in joining the military? Was it just the draft that was looming?
Yes, it was the draft, right.
Right. And you said that you were a volunteer.
For the Marine Corps. Yeah, they asked for 6 volunteers when they needed some more Marines, I guess, at that time.
Okay.
So,
did you have any family in the Marine Corps before that?
No, I didn't. But I had an uncle that served in World War II, and he was an Army anti-aircraft gunner, and the ship was hit in Okinawa, and he survived. Next day, I held on to the ship, on the hull of the ship. What my mom told me, and he was taken to hospital in Japan, and saw Mrs. Marshall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So anybody else in the military?
Had one other uncle served in Korea.
Okay.
And that was Albert Smichael.
Okay. And did anyone in the family tell you what it was like being in the military?
No, they never did. Never had that. I had my dad had a brother that served in the Navy in the 50s, but he didn't see any service action. I don't know what his job was, but he got out and he worked for the telephone company, Southwestern Bell.
Can you tell me what your boot camp experience was?
Yeah, that was quite a bit. Like I say, it's a kind of a shock from coming from civilian to being very disciplined. A lot of marching, exercising, and learn how to take your weapons apart. At that time it was the M1 Grand's what I was using, and know how to put it back together. And then we went to a rifle range at the end of our time in the base camp. So spent about a week there, learn how to fire the weapons that we had, and did okay on that. And so anyway, then I went home got a 30-day leave of absence, and recall that I went to Camp Lejeune and did some artillery training there, survey. I did some artillery survey, so I was there in like 3 weeks.
3 weeks,
And
okay.
Came back, maybe it's longer than that, end of August '66, and came back home stayed month there, and then went back to Camp Pendleton.
So you were 20 years old, is that correct?
I was, I would have been, is that right? I guess that's accurate. 20 years old then, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, when I got there, went to infantry training regiment. Before they had us go there for a week of training before we were stationed in Okinawa, and for more work while we were over there, more duty.
Okay.
So I've got a picture of the regiment I was in when I was there.
All right.
And we show that, I guess. But it was that was like, I don't know how many in that whole thing. There's a bunch of platoons in it.
We could put it a little bit
This
closer
way.
to me.
And then I don't know if y'all can see the
And if you could
other
pull
information
it down
this
from
way.
your face, that would be
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
So this is the whole brigade? Or the whole
That's
company?
an infantry training regiment.
Okay.
And they did some stuff that we did, learned how to shoot a grenade launcher, and then we did some other training, escape and evasion type of training, and some other stuff they taught us, and that.
So was that at Camp Lejeune?
Yes.
Okay.
And the guy that's in the center, or near the center there, is Captain Black. He did a little speech about going over there and telling us we were doing what we needed to do to serve our country. And later on, I found out he was killed in Vietnam.
That's sad.
That's always not good to learn, but that's.
Yeah. Was he close to you?
No.
Okay. But he was just your captain for that short period of time?
Yeah,
He
right.
was your CO?
Right.
Steve, do you remember which one you are?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Me right there.
All right, so can we?
You can barely see it, but that's me. The 8th one from the top. I think I wrote it in the back.
You can keep this rolled up like that, but then so then show the camera.
Okay. Where am I again? Oh, right here, I guess. 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, right there. So I got the glasses on there. That's how I knew. You can barely see it, but I had the glasses on.
So he's number what from left? 8?
8?
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
8 to the left. Yeah, right. That's correct.
And what does it say on the back of this?
Well, let's see.
okay.
He's killed
It
in.
shows
I guess he was killed not soon after he got over there. But
Oh, okay.
this was taken in March of '66. So I'm guessing. I don't know. I'd have to check some other information on that.
Right. And you've got Captain Black's information on there.
He was, but he was an infantry officer. I was in artillery.
Okay.
So I served, and when I got over there, I was assigned to Whiskey Battery, 1st Battalion, 12th Marine Regiment.
Okay.
And
what was the MOS?
0844 is what I was, a fire direction center. So I worked in the fire direction. We had some charts at the time. They used like a map, but it wasn't. It was just lines of showing a grid, if you will. And the F forward reserve would call in to FDC. We were in a separate bunker, if you will, or work area. And when we were in Vietnam, we were in a bunker. So they would give us the coordinates, and we'd plot them. And then we had a fan, like a big ruler thing, and a fan. We'd put it on the pin where the target was supposed to be, and then they would tell them how far to fire the weapon. And from the distance, they would know how much. Being in mortars, they had like little cakes, and they break off what they needed and put on the tail of and they had a screw on the thing that would hold the powder on, and then we drop the mortars. Yeah, they were about 30 pounds, and they were about this big around.
So your job was
To tell them, give them information, or make sure the chart, the primary chart they would line up together, and then we know they were firing the right target.
okay. So you were stationed in Japan first.
Yes, I did some training in the northern part of the island.
Mm-hmm.
We did some escape and evasion type training where we'd go in the woods. And then
Mhm.
at night we had somebody with a compass and a light, and they would get us back to. We went about 2 miles out and then cut across a creek to get
Okay.
back to our camp where we were camping out that night.
Okay. So how long were you in Japan?
I was in and out of Japan a couple of different times actually, and before we after that training there, we got on a ship called Westchester County, was a LST,
Uh-huh.
and then we on that ship we were on that ship several days, and we got into the Philippines, Subic Bay, Manila,
Uh-huh.
and then we got on we did some helicopter. The helicopter sent. I mean, after the ship we were on was going to be the Iwo Jima, and it was a
Mhm.
helicopter ship. And we did some training in one of the islands in the Luzon area, which
Mhm.
is the southern part.
Mhm.
And then we came back and got on the Iwo Jima, which was
Mhm.
a helicopter carrier.
Okay. Did you ever fly on the helicopters?
Yes, they flew us in, and that's how we
Mhm.
landed. And we had the Operation Deckhouse 5, and we were there like 2 weeks. And we were near a river, and then they moved us over about 5 miles over another area. And that night, the night of the 13th of January, we were mortared. A couple of guys got the guns and turned around. And anyway, the lights were kind of out on the tent. We were supposed to be given direction. In the FDC, we just had a big tent.
Right.
And it was all, we had to turn the lanterns on. There was no electricity, so we'd turn the lanterns on. But by then, the guys that were on the guns took one of the guns and aimed it at the enemy fire.
Okay.
And
Did he take care of
put
them?
them out. Yeah, took care of them.
Okay.
Yeah, one guy's name was Moose. That's all I know is his nickname. And the other guy's last name was Battaglia.
Okay.
I want to say Vincent Battaglia.
Uh-huh.
And he was from New York. I'm not sure where Moose was from, but
Okay. So at what point in your career did you go to Vietnam?
well, that would have been so it would have been well, it was already in by the end of December,
Mhm.
and ended January is when I left Camp Pendleton and we stopped off in Hawaii for a little bit, and then on to Okinawa.
Okay.
So, but that was from there, Okinawa to Philippines for that training I was talking about.
Uh-huh.
And then we had our first landing was in the Mekong Delta.
Mhm.
And it was called Operation Deckhouse 5.
Okay. So what was that? Was it a conflict that you were resolving there, or?
Well, we were there to supposedly, make sure the enemy wasn't coming in and harassing the civilians. And part of our job was there was a big storm off the coast before we landed. So when we got there, we didn't really find too many enemy. We might have captured a few Viet Cong. That was about it.
Okay.
But after that, we came back to Okinawa again, and I got on another ship. I'm going to say it was the Ogden. It was another LST. We had a cargo transport, but we had our 4-deuce mortars and jeeps, and we landed in Hue Phu, and then we went north up to Dong Ha. And from there, we were there a couple of weeks, and they had another outfit that was leaving the area where we were going to take their place. And it was called the Balong Valley. And we were there about a couple of months. And we had an operation where we took 2 guns to the east, and then the next night or two we took 2 guns to the west. And there were some infantry troops coming through the valley there. There was a river that ran through it, and we'd get our water out of that river. The water was clear enough, but we'd do some Halzone chemical in it so that we made sure that it was safe to drink.
Did
So
you
that
have
was
to
our
put
drinking water.
chlorine into your water?
Well, it wasn't chlorine, it was called halazone tablets.
Okay.
Or halazone chemical to make sure there were any bacteria would be killed.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we got to that. It was about 9 o'clock at night. The captain said, "Well, y'all need to bring those guns back." The guys who were supposed to be doing fire protection for, well, they gone way beyond our range of our guns.
Mm-hmm.
So the captain got mad about that and said, "We need to bring those 2 guns back." They were Howtars. They were howitzers on wheels.
Okay.
Yeah, like a howitzer, but they called it, since it was a mortar, they called it a howtar.
Mm-hmm.
And the hitch broke on it. So it was like they had somebody in a Jeep went back and got 4 or 5 more guys because we had to get that gun back to the base, which was about 1.5 miles away. But
Mm-hmm.
it was all bombed out for B-52 craters where the bombs had hit in the area. So we had to go up and down those hills
Mm-hmm.
that had created on the road to get us back to the base camp.
How heavy were those mortar
Oh,
rounds? The guns?
with the wheels and the trailer that tows the thing is probably 1,500 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Normally a regular Howtar is about, I want to say it's like 400, just the tube and the base plate.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, the Marine Corps decided they couldn't fix that hitch on that particular one, so they went to the base plate.
Mm-hmm.
So after we got through, we were there till I want to say the middle of April or something like that, and we came back to Dong Ha.
Okay.
And it was on a Cherokee. We were on a plane that landed. It had a landing strip there, and that was called Cherokee, and got our equipment and came back to Dong Ha.
So,
Dong Ha is like 15 miles to northwest area.
and was Cherokee in Vietnam?
Cherokee was the name of the plane. I was calling
Oh,
it the
okay.
plane. Yeah, that particular plane was called a Cherokee.
Okay.
And we got on it and flew back to Dong Ha.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we did some more security patrol for 155 howitzer guns.
Mm-hmm.
They were self-propelled, like a track vehicle.
Ah.
And then also we went up to Cam Low, and they had a 155 sitting there was a self-propelled, and we did guard duty. And then a couple of days later, we went up to Con Tien. And Con Tien, that was pretty devastating, you know.
How many people did you lose?
We lost 4 men in one attack. What it was 19 was up near the river, what they call a marketplace.
Uh-huh.
And there's actually a book about it called Hill of Angels. And that's what Con Tien translates to Hill of Angels.
Hmm.
And I can't remember the guy's name. William, somebody wrote a book about it. But anyway, we fired support for that operation that night. It started in the afternoon, and what had happened, 19 was up there, and they got surrounded, and I guess there were a lot of killed,
Mm-hmm.
Marines killed from 19. And anyway, the following night, K Company of another regiment, 2-3, I want to say, went up there to recover all the bodies and everything. There were tanks that were destroyed also. So what they did was we fired all our HE to keep the enemy. They got surrounded again, trying to recover the bodies. And I don't know
Your
whether
unit got.
I was 3 miles back. Our
okay.
range was like 3 miles, 3.5 miles we could fire.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 6 guns, and two of the guns would fire 1 mission. So we had 3 missions going, and we kept firing our rounds until we only had like a couple hundred rounds left.
Uh-huh.
So we started out, we had like 1,800 rounds of ammunition, of HE,
Wow.
what you call it, a high explosive.
Mm-hmm.
So they kept the enemy away. And I'm guessing they finally did get the helicopters in enough to get those guys out.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, I guess after the enemy had left by then, we went in the next morning, I'm gonna say it was like Monday morning or something like that.
Mhm.
They brought the tanks back, and they had bodies on the tanks, and it was pretty devastating for the Marines right out
Yeah.
in the front that were
How
fighting.
was it for you personally?
Oh, well, I was still there another month, and I was pretty well shocked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it shook you
Uh,
up. It sounds like.
And about 3 weeks later, we had another mortar attack. It was a smaller attack, but off and on they were firing artillery at us, like 70 millimeter guns from World War II, I guess, maybe even World War One. They were French.
Right.
And what they would do, I think the enemy would fire 1 or 2 rounds, and then they'd move the gun. They'd hide it in a cave or something, and then they moved to another position, fire again at us. So it was always constantly, because we couldn't move, we were stationed
Right.
where we were. But we were pretty devastating on them though when we fired at them. So
Yeah.
that was tough.
Yeah.
That we got mortar later on, and right near the end of the attack, there was a guy that they were staging for guard duty out on the perimeter, and the guy was killed. Sidlow was his name. Last name Sidlow, Joseph Sidlow.
Were you close to him?
Yeah, and that was briefly I knew him, because I periodically talked to some of the guys, the cannoneers they call them, and so yeah, that was tough. And Dumont and the guys that got killed on that fireman thing, that first part of July, they were communication guys.
Were they?
And one of them's Lance Corporal Jones, and another Roland Dumont. He was PFC. He was from Pennsylvania. Corporal Jones' brother. He was engaged to get married. He was killed. And Sergeant Holcomb, and he had a daughter, and I found out later on, and I wrote to her. She lives in right outside of Georgia, and she works for a gift place that you can order gifts. Amy Holcomb's her name. And anyway, I've kept in touch with all those guys. Weaver is one of the sergeants that was in charge of one of the guns. Yeah, there's 6 guns to a battery.
Yeah. So, how long were you in Vietnam total?
I was in there, I want to say from November to November, roughly.
A year.
Yeah, a year.
Yeah. So, were you hurt?
Well, I was roughly spent, in and out of Vietnam, probably spent 2 or 3 months in and out, so it was about actually 9 months.
Okay. Were you hurt
January
at all?
to October.
Were you hurt at all during?
No, I
the
wasn't
war?
injured. Fortunately, yeah, I wasn't. There wasn't any shrapnel I got, but.
How about mental health? Did you have any problems with mental health
Well,
afterwards?
I was pretty well shook up about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long did you wait before you got help for the mental health issues?
Well, I still have my own recovery that I do. I've been doing that for over 30 years. In 1991, I started doing a recovery of my own outside of VA.
May I ask what you do for your recovery?
Well, I go to meetings. Just separate meetings.
And what advice would you give to your peers that are also suffering mental pain from the war in Vietnam?
There's stuff that they do, the VA does, and that they had some medication, and I took it, and it really didn't do a lot for me, but a lot of mine, I go to separate meetings with other people that are in recovery also.
And that
Not
helps you.
necessarily in the service, but.
Right. And does being in touch with your buddies, does that help you too?
Oh, yes.
For dealing with the emotional pain?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And do you have any questions, Ben?
No, I was wondering, what was your most memorable experience in Vietnam, specifically, if you could pick one?
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think of some of the. I didn't get out into the actual, into any of the towns or anything, or what do you call it, for the people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was only there in country and doing the duty I was doing. But when I came back, we stayed at the Da Nang Hotel, and we went. But we actually didn't stay at the Da Nang Hotel. We were at the military base, but we went off the base and went into Da Nang for, not Da Nang, but trying to think of the town north of. Yeah, no, it was Da Nang.
It
I'm
was.
thinking of Saigon, but
Oh,
Da Nang
okay.
is where we were.
Uh-huh.
And then I was there a few days, and they give me orders to go back. And I
Uh-huh.
looked at them, and I thought, man, I don't want to be here any longer. And
Uh-huh.
they had 2 sets of orders.
Okay.
And I took the ones
How
that
did
would
that
get me
happen?
back to. I don't know why they did. I guess we only had like a couple of months left to serve our time,
Okay.
and so you could have stayed in Da Nang, which would have been a lot easier, I guess. But I didn't know that much about Da Nang. I wanted to
Passing
get back
through,
home. I
yeah.
didn't want to go to what I'd
Mhm.
already been through. I didn't want to go. No.
Sure.
So, but the going interesting. We went there, and there was a guy that was like what they call it, acted like he was a lady. And the guy
Oh.
was a good singer though, and I thought
A
that was
drag queen in
kind
Vietnam?
of a thing. But it was so fun. He was from Australia. I
Okay.
never will forget that. I thought that was so funny.
Was that the first time you'd ever seen
yeah,
anything like
yeah,
that?
right.
Uh-huh.
But he was very entertaining. He could sing real well. He was good.
Oh, that's
And I
great.
remember that. So, yeah, went back. When I left Da Nang, they flew us into Okinawa to pick up other troops, and now I went home. I want to say it was a 727. Maybe it's just a 737, but it's a civilian
been.
airplane. It was a Continental Airlines, and we came into El Toro,
Mm-hmm.
and I got into El Toro and went to the barracks. We're close by. Anyway, found out my uncle had passed away.
I'm sorry.
So they immediately gave me leave of absence to go home for the funeral. That was tough.
I'm glad that they
was
let
hard.
you go for that. I'm sure your
Yeah.
family was happy to have you then.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That
And I'm
was hard.
sure it was hard to go straight back into the war.
Then I came back to Pendleton. While I was home, I applied to go to college at the University of Houston, and I signed up for business administration.
Uh-huh.
And went there after I got out of service in January.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to go back to Pendleton, and I went to see a Dr. Fox, and I was all nervous and everything, and they just did like a insanity questionnaire or something. They didn't know anything about PTSD or nothing,
Sure.
so
Back then,
they didn't
it was shell
question.
shocked.
Yeah, and they didn't say nothing about that
Right.
at all. So I went home, and I was
They,
still messed up.
they didn't
and I
know
was still
about
not
it.
right. And
Yeah.
very, very nervous. At least little noise would jerk. I would jerk and look around.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm thinking that they're firing at me, kind of thing.
PTSD manifests very differently from
Yeah.
one person to
Oh,
the
yeah.
other.
Oh,
It
okay.
really
I wasn't-
differs.
I don't know. It was pretty. Well, I mean, after, like I say, we were sitting in a position where they would be firing at us every day, and sometimes it would be 10 times a day they'd be firing at you. You just didn't know. It was like random. But after doing it so long, then you're really attuned to any kind of little noise.
Right.
So that's what was getting to me.
Or things like fireworks
Oh, yeah,
disturbing to
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Definitely
what
don't
I-
want fireworks. I don't like
I hear
fireworks.
that from a lot of veterans. They just can't handle that because it's so close to what the mortar rounds
Yeah, that
sound like.
memory, I guess, of the people that were killed. You were with. Yeah,
Mhm.
actually.
Did you have a best experience and a worst experience in Vietnam that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, I don't know how to explain that. Well, being in the Philippines was very interesting. Yeah, to meet some of the people in the village there.
Uh-huh.
That was great. That was a great experience.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So,
And even in Okinawa was neat to
uh-huh.
go to the bar and drink and friends with maybe a lady there, and
Uh-huh.
and of course you'd have to go back to base. But yeah, that was fun. It was a good experience.
Yeah. So did you like the Japanese food?
Oh yeah, the
Good.
Japanese were very friendly.
Uh-huh.
They were.
That's great. I'm glad to hear it. So when did you end up leaving Vietnam?
I was I guess November of '67. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, you've got a stack of letters there.
Yeah, I had a bunch of letters that I wrote from home. I kept them over the years.
Uh-huh.
Well, here's one of the pictres of showing where the, I don't know if you can see it, where the tank was struck way up to the north of where we were.
Yeah.
Down a little bit.
Mhm.
Anyway, I don't think you can see it real well, but in the background there in the field area, you can see where the tanks laying on the ground there. That's some of the tanks that were destroyed out to the north near the river. What's called a marketplace is what it was called.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. There were a bunch of other operations that I worked on. Where I didn't bring the other letter with me, but I had a citation for the our letter showed where I awarded a presidential unit citation.
Mhm.
And the whole units, there was so much stuff that went on, they had to award everybody that was in action. That was that vice president at the time would have been
Johnson or no? He was.
yeah, who was
when
the
you
vice
first
president
entered.
under Johnson? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's who awarded it. I can't remember right offhand
Okay.
who it was, but yeah.
I don't know. So, what was your rank when you got out of the military?
I was Lance Corporal.
Okay, so an E4. And how many
E3.
years? Oh,
E3.
E3. Okay. And how many years had you served?
Oh, I served 2 years.
2 years. And what medals were awarded to you?
Well, it
points.
was the regular, the Vietnamese service medal, the good conduct medal, and what's the other one? There were 3 different ones. Service in Vietnam medal from the United States, and then the presidential unit citation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you service connected for mental health?
Yes.
You are.
Yeah.
And can I ask what percentage they give you for that?
Right now, I think I'm like 50%.
Okay. And do you have other service connected disabilities?
No.
No.
That's it.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to get a hearing loss from being there, but I haven't got it. I don't think I took a test a week ago or something like that, or well, it was a few weeks ago, and I got a letter back from them, so I don't know whether I'll get the 10% or not. I don't know if it shows that. But,
And do you have ringing in your ears?
not right now, but I have had it in the past.
Yeah. That's a common injury,
Yeah.
especially around all that noise.
The most rating from it is 10% is what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. So I'm doing okay with what I have. It's adequate for what my service.
Mm-hmm. Now, was there anybody that wrote you specifically from back home? Did you have a girlfriend or?
Yeah, I did, and some of the letters I never did get them. They'd sent them to my home address, and then I guess my parents felt like, well, it's probably not a good idea to forward them letters to where I was at. So I guess that makes some sense when I think about it. Yeah, I really missed that part of not staying connected. When I came back, I was very confused, so I was afraid to I connected up with one lady, and I thought she connected up with another soldier that was going to Korea, and then I thought they had gotten married, so I was kind of confused about that, and I didn't want to upset anything there. Was a friend of my brother's, Harold Ashley, and I didn't want to get entangled with it, but she was very grateful to see me. Yeah, so that was really neat. I helped her move. She moved from Houston to Beaumont, which is like 90 miles away. Her father was not well, and I guess he moved back to his parents there in Beaumont.
Okay.
Yeah, so I helped him move. Reconnected with Ann Parks was her name. And
yeah.
somehow she was supposed to have been a cousin of Buddy Holly. That might be true. That's possible because that's where Buddy Holly was from.
Yeah.
He was from Texas. So,
so have you ever been married?
No, I'm still married now. Yes.
To your only wife?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Joy.
And how long ago did you meet Joy?
I met her after about a year after I came out of service.
Okay.
And we got married in December '69, near the end of December. I was supposed to get married in the following year, but I decided I wanted to get married sooner, and I had to go to Montgomery County up to the Conroe area to get the certificate because it was the weekend and the Harris County office was closed. So I had, anyway, it was a bad timing for me to try to get my license. If I'm going to get married, you got to have a license, right? And the father-in-law, he was a Methodist minister, Congregational Methodist minister, and he had married us.
Oh, did he? So did you sort of elope for
No,
a different day than
No,
your planned wedding? Okay.
No, it's kind of planned.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and do you enjoy have children together?
We have two sons. Troy, he was born in 71, and September 24th, 1971, and Sean was born June the 19th, 1974. So they're what, in their 50s now, or at least Sean will be 50 this year in a couple of months, and of course my birthday's on the 28th of June, so hopefully I can reconnect with him. He's Sean's in Oregon.
Okay.
And he was married to a lady on the East Coast for a while. We lived on the East Coast for like 10 years. And we just moved back to Denver 4 years ago.
Okay.
During the advent of the COVID outbreak and all that. It was tough.
I bet.
And
that was a strange time.
Oh gosh, it hurt a lot of people, didn't it? And still recovering from it.
Yeah.
So.
Did you get COVID or no?
I had my oldest sister pass away, but she was overweight, and she smoked. Maybe they said, well, my older brother said, well, she had passed away from what do you call it? From the smoking. But I'm thinking it could have been.
So lung cancer or something?
Well, not that.
But maybe
where
pulmonary.
you can't breathe anymore, the breathing thing, what's it called?
Right, pulmonary stenosis or something?
Or something like that,
Fibrosis. Yeah. So do you get to see your children very often?
No, Troy lives here in Denver
Okay.
now, but he was living and working in Seattle for a while, and he let that job. The person that owned that business had lost the business. He was working repairing hoods for restaurants and that kind of thing. But he's a salesman and he's a talker.
Okay.
Right now he's working for Safeway. Stores.
So what was it like?
And Sean's kind of an artist,
and
he's kind of self-employed, that kind of thing himself. He also has acquired a skill as a carpenter or a woodworking person.
That's great.
He's made chairs and tables, and he's doing okay with that. And he has one daughter, the granddaughter I mentioned, Anya.
So she's getting married?
No.
Oh,
she's still single.
She's still single.
Yeah, she's only like 15, 16.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what was it like for you to come back into the civilian world after your military career?
Yeah, that was tricky for me. Yeah. I decided I wanted to go to college after that, and I just kept with it.
Okay.
And I
Did you use your GI Bill
Yes, right, correct.
to go to college?
Yeah.
And what was your major?
I was in business and accounting, majored in accounting.
Okay.
I worked in it after I finished. I was working in the mailroom for a newspaper, and which was like production, assembling the paper.
Right.
And had equipment and high-speed equipment today for it. I worked in the trade for about 40 years, counting from high school. I worked through part-time while I was going to college. And later on, I became a journeyman. And then I took a leave from the trade for about 3 years. I worked in accounting, and I worked for a company called Harrisburg Machine Company.
Okay.
And I think it was acquired later on. And
So
that job as a bookkeeper, I was an accountant.
okay.
Help keeping their books straight and all that.
So
And
what was the trade that you were journey level in?
it's called a journeyman mailer, and it's a part of the CWA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
There's Denver Mailers Union number 8, you want to call it. One time
okay.
it's called Denver Mailers, DMU number 8. But later on we became part of the Typographical Union, and then the Typographical Union emerged with the CWA about 1980.
Okay.
So they still have a few people still working.
So were you
not
part
very
of
many.
the Postal Service, or was this
No,
private?
the Postal Service that's a total separate union, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But CWA employs a lot of people.
Uh-huh.
There's stewardesses today, there's nurses, and CWA. There's other unions that are under umbrella of CWA.
Uh-huh. So when did you retire?
I retired, it would have been April the 1st, 2009, I retired. And by that time, how'd it go? The trade, a lot of the workers that were retiring, they were not replacing more journeymen.
Okay. So what have you done since your retirement?
Well, I just been taking my time, enjoying my family mostly,
Good.
and doing my recovery meetings I go to, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah. Did you have any trouble with things like alcohol or?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But I'm taking care of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long ago did you quit drinking?
It'll be 33 years, May the 10th.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's a big job. Yeah.
I'm trying to help somebody else, and that's how it works.
Yeah. That's great.
I got to do something in my free time anyway.
So what worked for you in terms of quitting the alcohol?
Just go to meetings and discuss the program itself. There's 12 steps and 12 principles and 12.
So is that AA
Yes.
that you're involved with?
Right.
Okay. So you're a sponsor now.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, trying to.
And what hobbies do you enjoy?
I've been doing fishing, but I haven't done any fishing lately.
Okay.
I'll drag out my rod and reel and get over there to the reservoir and go fishing.
Yeah, it's definitely the time of year for that. It's spring. So, yeah, and how many grandchildren do you have?
I just have that one.
The one?
Sean has, right?
Okay.
Anya.
Okay. So what else would you like to tell me about yourself?
Oh, I'm interested in writing, trying to put together kind of I guess a story of what I've done in my life and that kind of thing.
Okay.
I wrote a 20 pages or 15 or 20 pages of my experience in service too. And so I've got a record of that.
Okay. Is there anything about your service that you left out that you'd like to talk about?
No, that's it.
Pretty well covered it?
Right.
Okay. Okay.
How does your military service how did it affect your life later on?
Oh yeah, I mean it definitely changed my attitude and what I thought about what I should be doing in my life, and that was important that I do the best I could in my job and like that. So yeah, it was very important that I did what I did. My life would have been totally different if I hadn't gone in service for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How would that have looked differently for you?
I think I would have just got into more trouble and never recovered from what I was doing in my life.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it would have. I mean, it probably I would still probably stay married to Joy. So I make a commitment. I usually stay with it, but because of the service, I think it changed my belief and how I looked at life afterward.
Uh-huh.
Definitely.
And how did life look to you afterward?
I mean, it looked like a good future. I had a way to go to college, and before I didn't have that. I didn't have a way to pay for college if I went.
Uh-huh.
So, and that definitely was a big deal. Yeah, still is.
Uh-huh. That's great. So what would you like for people to remember you by in the future?
That I'm, I guess, belief in my family and country.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I belong to the VFW, 3631 over here off of Tower Road in Colfax,
Uh-huh.
and American Legion
Okay.
also.
Have you ever done any public speaking for either one of those service
No, I
operations?
haven't, but I took some what do they call it, Toastmasters.
Uh-huh.
So I took a Toastmaster for about a year when I was living in Lakewood
Okay.
back in 2001, 2002, right in there.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, also I started going to Church of the Southwest when they had Columbine happen. I was going to church there, and I helped usher the service. And Dave Sanders, the teacher,
Right.
and one of the other, I think I want to say it was Roy Ball, the guy that was a football player, I think.
Okay.
Those two, they had a service this Saturday, and later on, I worked up and saved up a little bit of money, and we went over to Scotland, and there was a attack by a security guard that went nuts, and he went in and killed a bunch of elementary kids,
Oh my
and
gosh.
that was really great. Yeah, that was. But they had like a memorial place where they had we got like little markers and tombstone things for the kids. There was like 16 of them killed.
Oh wow.
And it's called Dunblane.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Glasgow. It's the southwest of Glasgow.
Uh-huh.
Is where that was. And we were over there about a week. Came back, but it was about 2 weeks before 9/11.
Really?
And yeah, we'd
Wow.
never been able to go. That hadn't happened. When you hadn't went then, I'm sure we would have never went. But
Right.
that was that's probably one of my really unique experiences in my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the church was called Cornerstone, that was there, and it's Kilwinning, and Kilwinning is where the first Scottish right thing is. What do they call it? What's yours? What do they call it?
The Highland Games, maybe, or
No. Well, my dad was a member also
Okay.
of it's a society of
Okay.
people that are
Masons?
usually Masons. Yeah, that's what I was trying
okay.
to say.
Freemasons.
Freemasons, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
that's where the first one is, and we got to go visit it.
Are
And
you
it's
a
there in
part of-
Kilwinning.
Are you a part of the Masons? Or no?
no. No, I'm not.
That's not your club, huh?
No.
So tell me about keeping in touch with all your buddies from the Marines.
I haven't. There's one lives in Tennessee. And I haven't talked to him lately. But I've called Weaver. He's in Alaska,
Uh-huh.
He's what's called a place called Tyagi, north of Anchorage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he moved from there. I don't know. He sold the place and then maybe he moved down a little farther in another community, and I don't know why he moved. I guess maybe it was too much trouble to take care of where he was living there in Tyagi.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's still there.
So you told me.
Greg Weaver's his name. Greg's his first name.
Yeah. So you told me that you have reunions that happen every year with your unit.
Oh yeah, it was a reunion.
Uh-huh.
Right. Yeah, they've had them every year. There's a website called the actual, it's USMC whiskey1-12.org.
Uh-huh.
So it's actually
You have a
maybe I
page?
should have had a line of it so you could show it on.
Is that on Facebook?
No, it's just a regular
it's
website.
its own
Yeah.
website.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Well, you probably, I don't know, you might find it on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
And Google that one, USMC Whiskey 112 on Facebook. It'll probably come up. I hadn't thought about it. Maybe I ought to try it.
Okay.
But
And
yeah.
you said your next one is in South Carolina?
right, yeah, and
And
it'll be
that's-
like the middle of September.
Okay. So
Yeah,
that's
hopefully
coming
I'll
up soon.
get to that. Yeah, I need to get back to there.
Okay.
So it's been about 5 years since I've gone. Last time I went was in Tennessee,
Uh-huh.
Chattanooga.
Okay.
And that's where the other guy I was talking about, Dean Hammond's his name. He
Uh-huh.
Dean lives there. And I think one of the lieutenants was living there too.
Uh-huh.
One of the officers that was with with whiskey. We call it just whiskey for short.
Okay. Yeah.
Whiskey battery.
Uh-huh. So that must be good to get together with your friends.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sharing the memories that you all have together. Yeah. So what else would you like to say?
Well, I'm kind of relieved that we got through this. Okay.
We did.
I was kind of apprehensive about the whole thing. Right.
Okay. Do you have any other photos that you'd like to show us?
Let's see. What else did I have? Oh, okay. There's a bunch of them I took, and it's kind of crazy. Oh, there's one. Where'd it go? I'm gonna have to put it up there, I guess. This was a guy that took over after there was three different commanders of Whiskey Battery, and this guy here was Bob Huber, and it was so hot there. A lot of times we
Yeah.
wouldn't be firing at us. We'd be walking around with no shirt. It was so hot.
Oh,
It was
no.
in summertime, and
Mhm.
he had just finished doing an inspection.
Uh-huh.
Your gun. You had to look at our guns, make sure we're taking care of
Uh-huh.
our rifles and everything. And I think he
Right.
just got through doing an inspection. He's walking back to the bunker there,
Uh-huh.
and let's see some of the others. Let's see, let me look in here. Okay, there's one. You can't see this top of the hill, but this is, like I say, our outfit, all our guns and everything were all down below the top. You can see there's a hill here,
Yeah. If
and
we
you
could
can
bring it down
just
a
barely
little.
see the smoke. There's a little bit of smoke at the top.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's where they were firing, and a round hit at the top of the hill.
Wow.
And often they would go over, and they would fire over the top of us, and they hit way off to back behind us.
Uh-huh.
Now here's another one. It's a little bit better. This one's a little bit more clear.
So you can see your face.
Yeah, well,
Just a little bit down more.
that's a little bit down.
There you go. That's perfect.
That's a little bit more clear. That's another one. I don't know if it was taken. A lot of these were taken about the same time, the same. I had a portrait camera. I had a regular single lens reflex, but I had lost it on the ship when we were coming in somewhere. Lost it, so I bought this one in Okinawa. It was a portrait camera. It was a Yashica 635, whatever. And
That's amazing.
anyway, okay, here it is showing the gun inspection I was talking about. And Tim, I believe that's the captain looking at that. I think what's going on
Mhm.
there. Yeah. And then here's another one. They had that's where the rounds were hitting. I was talking about when they fire over the hill.
Uh-huh.
They would fire where they're guys with the flamethrowers. They were on a tank probably, and they were firing the flamethrowers to burn out some of the grass or greenery, so the enemy wouldn't. I guess we were getting sniper fire, and they burned all that out with the flamethrower. Some other pictures. Yeah, this is Cam Low. I don't see the 155 there, but this is Cam Low. That's about 5 miles south of Contian where we were at. And that's Cam Low. I don't know if the 155, you can see it there or not. It should be a self-propelled gun, but I don't exactly see it. Where's that going to be? Why am I not seeing it there? Oh, it's over to the left. Way over to the left. You just barely see it, but it's over here. You can just barely see the gun. This picture is just not big enough. I should have used a bigger picture. There's some other ones. Okay, this picture here was a secondary explosion. You can tell the difference in the smoke. They would gather up rounds that were duds, if you will, and they would explode them. And I think the Army exploded all these rounds. That's what that picture is of a secondary explosion where they were blowing up the rounds, just to get rid of them so the enemy wouldn't use them, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Makes sense, don't it?
That does, yeah.
Let's see if I can find. Oh, there's a picture of me in FDC.
Oh, we'd love to see that.
Kind of blurred, but that was inside the bunker. It's kind of blurred. But
We
that is me.
make that your portrait for the beginning. Yeah. It's a great one.
And then this one here, this is really, really unique. I forget to mention this guy. And if you look at the website, you'll find this guy here. That's Kermit the Frog, before there was Kermit the Frog. But anyway, somebody had brought this thing with us. They said it had disappeared and it got killed in action. It was sitting on top of my bunker, and then it disappeared one day. And they said later on they wrote in there that he was killed in action.
Okay. Yeah.
But they had a write up in the paper not long ago. They found this frog. It reminded me of this. And it's actually called the Kermit something, whatever the genre of a frog is. They call it Kermitus, whatever. Yeah, they found this frog and it looked similar to that. Well, a frog is green or whatever. Yeah, here I am with one of the guys I was with, Munson, I want to say Munson was his name. And he rode home and had him send the Texas flag. But that's not a very good idea to have a flag over your bunker. You're a target, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that flag came down after a while. The captain complained about it.
Okay.
You can get us all killed with that flag up there.
Right.
And this is one of the lieutenants doing this. Yeah, the guns have to be repositioned or what do you call it? And this is the lieutenant. He's doing the survey to calculate the guns, so the aiming stakes. Yeah, there's aiming stakes that the gunners aim off of, and they have to re-aim the stakes, and that's what the lieutenant's doing here. He's resetting telling them to move the stake over to where the gun is. It's off position where it's supposed to be.
Now, were y'all able to recover most of the soldiers that you lost?
Oh yeah, sure.
You were.
Yeah.
That's good.
And here's about, I want to say at the first part of August or something like that, in there had it rain. And it's all these, where the dugouts where they kept the parapet and all that, well, some of them, they were just, like I said, where that staging area for security, for the guard detail on the perimeter. Well, it rained and it got full of water, so I decided I would take a swim in the water from the rain that filled up the dugout area.
Right.
So I'm probably all dirty from dirty
Agent
water.
Orange. Yeah.
Maybe that's where I got my Agent Orange.
Yeah.
I did have a problem with that.
You did?
Yeah, I had prostate cancer, and they took care of that. I forget.
Are you service connected for that?
Yeah.
You are. Okay.
Yeah. Back in 2013, when I was in Virginia, I went to VA there, and I did radiation therapy. And,
okay.
Yeah.
So are
took
you in
care of it.
remission, or are you
Yeah, right.
considered
Yeah,
cured?
right. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Considered cured from
Okay.
that, right?
that's
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Hmm.
So anyway, that's
All right.
Just before we end, we go over just some of the reflection and conclusion
Okay.
questions. I think we already got the top one.
Okay. Okay. Um, so, what are some of the life lessons that you've learned from your military experience?
comes of what the.
What are some of the life lessons that you've learned in the military?
Well, be vigilant and persistent about what you're doing in your life, and don't quit. I live by that and believe in that. Yes.
Okay. And what are some of the things that you miss about being in the service?
I guess we'd be able to travel and visit different countries,
Uh-huh.
like that, different places.
So that was exciting for you.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you are glad that you left behind in the service?
Well, I guess being with the family, having my own family, and not having to deal with having to move around. Yeah, there was a lot of moving around when I was in service. So, but that's just the nature of being in the military. You're gonna move around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Was there a favorite place that you were
I don't mind
stationed?
I didn't mind the temporary being in Philippines and Okinawa for the time I was, but having to be in one place. And of course, most of my family has gone now. I don't really have any siblings. I have that one younger sister, and I'm trying to get a hold of her, and I can't. I don't know what's happened with her. And she's got one son. I try to reach him. He's
Uh-huh.
a truck driver, so he goes over the road a lot. So I'm trying to connect up with him to keep in touch with. And she's not real well. I don't think she has a kidney problems going on with her, and I don't know if she's not doing well. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you find her pretty soon. Yeah.
maybe they're just going down there. They live in Houston, Texas, so I need to go back down there
Mhm.
visit.
Okay. And what do you wish that more civilians knew about being a veteran or being in the military?
Oh, I guess that it's a different life than being in one place with a family. I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is there any message that you would like to leave for future generations?
Well, if you have an opportunity and the time to be in service and go into service, I highly recommend that because of the benefits. I wouldn't have the life I have today, but I had no way of knowing that in the future. But definitely,
Yeah.
it has been a big benefit to my life.
Okay. And is there anything else that you would like to add that we haven't covered today?
No, Semper Fi.
Semper Fi. Are you still a neck?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
You're still a Marine.
still a Marine, right? There you go.
There you go, for life. Yes. Well, it was a pleasure to meet you. And again, I
Okay.
thank you for your service.
Yes.
And I'd like to welcome you home.
All right. Thank you
All right.
so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, just before we end, is it okay? So we want to get a thumbnail for the video. That's the cover.
Okay.
Is there any really good photos that maybe preferably of you?
Oh,
and then,
what
put
did
that
I
next
have?
to your face.
Oh, I guess I should have brought some other than just regular photos of me, huh? Is that it? I don't know what I had. I had that one, but I did have another one in there, didn't I? That might have been appropriate, I guess. Let's see, where was it?
I know you did show one that was pretty good.
Where was that? That was where that one was, right? Where I was in the bunker. I don't have them quite lined up here, right? Okay, that's the one
I think the one of
with
you
the frog,
swimming was
know,
pretty good.
with the frog, and
Mhm.
that's not really. It got my shades on. Wasn't there another one?
There was
No.
the one with you swimming. I think that
Oh
was a
well,
pretty
that's
good
not.
one.
I don't know. I need to send y'all one or something.
Okay.
Well, that's the captain doing the inspection.
And it's really cool that you had that
Oh,
portrait camera.
Yeah. Good thing I had that. I wouldn't have got these pictures, but
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't easy. And that's where that round had hit to kill those guys in the truck. They were loading up the truck, and it was hit. I don't know. These guys were Vietnamese. They were selling the bananas, the little bananas. They're really sweet,
yeah, they
real
are.
small bananas. You probably seen
Were
them in
they-
the store before.
Were they
Those
red
small ones.
or yeah?
Yeah, you can see they're real small, but they were like sweet.
Yeah, we
And
have,
they were selling those, and that was on the way up to Contin. Oh,
They
here's one
sell
of me digging the
those.
bunker.
yeah, they sell those here now.
I guess
you
this-
can go to Pacific Ocean Market and
Yeah,
buy
right,
these.
yeah. Kinda
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah,
Well, I guess
you
this
can
is
get
the
these.
closest one. I'm digging my bunker. Maybe
Oh, okay.
maybe that's the one
That
you're
looks
talking about.
good.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. There you go.
Yeah. When I was digging the bunker, making
Yeah,
my
that's
little
great.
bunker, digging in.
So we'll have you here.
Oh, it's totally.
If you want to hold it up just from the bottom, just like that. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's perfect. All right.
Good enough
Put on the
one.
video right there.